You have no rights afforded to you, but you get thrown anyway into a situation where you're having to uh, explain yourself to people who have no idea who the fuck you are. Not only that, like, you can see my kids are healthy, they're happy, shots are up to date, house is a mess because everything's just being moved in. Like, obviously, a little bit of chaos, and then my wife's new to the unit, like, not even checked in fully into the unit. But this is the kind of shit we're getting day one being on Fort Hood. I digress. We go further. As we get integrated into Fort Hood, we start hearing, hey man, so and so, was found in their car, throat cut. Just another day in Fort Hood. Man, so far this year we've had 22 suicides. Okay. So far on base, on post, 22 suicides that haven't gone reported outside of post. But that's okay to them. That's okay. And the numbers are rising every day. Um, you have you have NCOs who make sexual advances on privates and specialists, and you have specialist women. You have female soldiers getting raped nonstop in the barracks. Like, there's a story on that literally every fucking day on post where the women used to sleep with the door, like a chair against the door, so the guys don't break through and assault them in the night. What kind of lunacy is that shit? Why would you allow that shit to persist? The NCOs there are shitbags. They will cut your throat in order to prevent you from fucking up their career. Because the name of the game is, how good can I look on paper? It has nothing to do with actual service, has nothing to do with taking care of your people. It's how good can I look on paper, and how good can I look showing off for the leadership. And then the leadership is its own cabal of insanity, its own cabal of self-righteous ability to think that they can lord over people and treat them any which way, right? So you have commanders who will break you down. They'll talk to you any which way. You say one word back to them, that's disrespect of an officer. Well, it goes up and down the chain of command, dumbasses. That's the way that works. Like, if you're going to sit and cuss at me, I'm going to return fire, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I don't care if you're an officer. I don't care if you're a commander. I don't care if you have a full bird on your shit. You're going to sit here and cuss at me, and I don't deserve it. You get cussed at right back. And people are going to say, oh, man, you need to give respect. And I'm like, no. If the respect is already broken, if the curse words are just coming down, and you file a complaint, your career's still screwed, whether you fire back with an expletive yourself or not. Because they will fuck you. They will absolutely screw your career if you file a single complaint against an officer. There are 30 more thousand repercussions that are going to go towards the lower enlisted than will ever happen to either upper enlisted or officers. Ever. You have commanders who, while during UCMJ proceedings, lie in front of a colonel, lie in front of everybody present who knows the situation, and be allowed for that to persist and happen because nobody's going to check them because they have 2 fucking bars on their fucking uniform. You have majors that are cunts that don't do shit. You have the higher enlisted personnel. You have staff sergeants. You have sergeant first classes. You have sergeant majors. You have all sorts of assholes who are constantly berating the E4 and below, who are constantly cursing them up, one down inside the other, and then you expect them to be okay, happy and cheery, and just mush on through what they've got to do. I'm sorry, no. Yes, it is the military, but there is a fine line between discipline and abuse. When it's an everyday thing, and the kind of things that the leadership would say to my wife, like, it gets to the point where she had to record it. She recorded it, where they were constantly cussing her, constantly saying, "Hey, you'll never leave this command, with your benefits. You'll never get out of Fort Hood with with an honorable discharge, you'll never this, you'll never that. I mean, constantly hearing things like that where, you'll never progress in your career because we won't let it happen. You don't deserve, to be at HQ. You don't deserve, because they had the position open for her to be there, and she was there doing her job, working with leadership to make sure. And she's a 88 November transportation coordinator. You do these things to advance in your career, to do everything you got to do, and you have constant other soldiers saying that my wife's awesome, she's doing everything she's supposed to do, she's top-notch soldier, and then you got these randoms that have very little interaction with my wife who degrade her constantly, who have something negative to say constantly about the command, who are just shitty leadership in general, who have so many cases against them that for some reason they still have rank. For some reason you got complaints by all the junior soldiers and nothing happens to that leadership because they're an E7. I'm sorry, but they're not untouchable. They're not. Get those assholes out of the career. They're filibustering for 20, but they're making your culture of your fucking service a painful place to be, so much so that by the end of 2018, 100 plus suicides on Fort Hood, half a dozen murders on Fort Hood that don't get reported. You have other shootings that happened on Fort Hood that did not get reported to the news. Special warfare guy on 2018, went nuts and started attacking people with a service weapon. Didn't hit the news, didn't have an article, not a thing, not a blip, not a peep, because they hold it all in-house. If they can handle everything in-house, and then you finally get something that hits the news, you have soldiers missing. You're going to turn around and say, no, he went AWOL. Like, bitch, they found him in a field. He was murdered. But you're not going to give the money to the family. You're not going to give the body to the family until you're supposedly done with your investigation. But you're just trying to find ways not to pay out and investigate properly a person who was killed while on active duty by an active duty probably person. And you've got clear people who are murderers on post. It's clear. You got people we're finding in the lake. You got people we're finding out in fields. You got people that we're finding everywhere who are soldiers that you've been looking for. We're finding on post dead. Or you're finding them in the parking lot with their throat cut. Or you're finding motherfuckers in trunks. Like, Fort Hood is the black hole. It's like the Bermuda Triangle for fucking soldiers. You show up there, you may not leave. You may not be able to, you not be afforded the opportunity to leave. That's how corrupt Fort Hood is. And I can't believe that there is not so much scrutiny on that base that there are top brass from the Pentagon whose ass is not on the ground themselves, putting their foots physically in the ass of the entire leadership of the military on that post. It's a miracle of modern science that there are camera crews camped out along the fucking road to talk to soldiers, and they're being threatened. The latest news. Wonder why you don't hear a peep from Fort Hood? Because they're being threatened. They're being threatened with having their entire career doused if they talk to anybody outside the gates. They have their entire livelihood on post, which they're being told, hey, you talk to a reporter, your career is done. If you say one word about so-and-so dying or so-and-so committing suicide or so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, they will absolutely ruin your career. It's not top secret information. It is public information that people need to know. If there is a fucking serial killer on post, or if there is such bad leadership on a single post that people are coming back from war and committing suicide on post. People need to know that kind of shit, because it's going to point a glaring fucking bright ass light on the leadership there, who are a bunch of rats. Oh, don't even get me started on the motherfucking medical officers there. Bunch of C students. Worst fucking people on the planet. You got medical officers there who are working in mental health, who do zero good for people, who fucking force people back out into the field because their chain of command wants them out there, because you got people saying, hey, I need to go see mental health. They're being walked there by their leadership. Mind you, that person is being looked down upon and scrutinized and torn apart by their leadership all the way to mental health, and being told that they're a failed sailor or a soldier because they decided to go get fucking treatment for the craziness that goes on post, and for the craziness of coming back with from combat, and then still having your buddy end up in a trunk, your battle buddy. Like, what the actual fuck, Fort Hood? You got a serial killer on base. You got assholes who are Kens and Karens in the upper echelon, the E6 and above, who are calling CPS on your lower enlisted because it's a lucrative system. You've created a partnership with Coryell County or Bell County to get as many people caught up in their cycle, and it doesn't matter if they're lower enlisted because they're lower enlisted. They got the time, they got the money, they got the resources. Why not feed into the cabal of lying CPS motherfuckers that are in the area? And speaking of lying CPS, Texas. And it's all over Texas. It's not just one aspect of Texas. It's not just one piece of Texas. It's not the east side of Texas. It's not the west side of Texas. It's all of Texas, where CPS lies. CPS will fabricate information. And we have thousands upon thousands of cases where CPS has lied. They have taken children. Children have ended up dead. You have severe molestation and abuse going on in these foster homes. You have such a cabal of insanity and downright human trafficking that it is a miracle that people have not shot CPS workers and law enforcement on site in Texas. It is a miracle that does not happen. And it should happen. It absolutely should happen. If CPS comes to your door, and this is my recommendation for you, if CPS comes to your door, bang, 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 hey, we need to see the kids, shoot them. End their life. Absolutely end their life, because they're not there to help. They're not there to offer services. They're there with the sole purpose of finding any excuse to extract that child from your care. You can say that that's not the mission of CPS, but we know the truth. It is a family court is a cash cow system, right? So without cases, they can't justify their existence. Without children to strip from loving parents, because let's just get it real here. The people that have the most money to deal with CPS are the people who are actually okay, who are people who actually have means, who actually have a paycheck coming in on the 1st and 15th, Fort Hood, Texas. So they know they're going to get paid. They know they're going to get the money. They know that the state's going to fork over money for resources, because they can keep these people going for years. And they tell you, if you don't jump, if you don't dive, if you don't duck, dodge, and dip, they will keep your kids in the system. The judges will tell you, like, they will do everything in their power. Hey, if you don't lick the ball sack of that psychologist over there, we're going to keep your kids for another 60 days. If you don't jump when the CPS worker comes over to inspect the house, if it doesn't look like the most pristine thing they've ever seen, we can keep them for another 60 days or another 120 days or whatever the fuck it is. They threaten you with that shit all the time for compliance reasons. Because let's get real. If the judges were put under the scrutiny of having a jury there of people who are witnessing the bullshit for what it is and observing the goings on for what it is, bullshit, then one, their ass would be in prison, because what they're doing is criminal. You have judges literally they can't articulate why they have ruled in favor of CPS. They can't they don't have the words. They're just saying, you know what? The situation is CPS just had to show up, and then that was it. You know, somebody, for some reason, unbeknownst to you, who won't be identified because you can't. That's the only system where you don't get to face your accuser ever. You don't get to face your accuser. The cops won't even come to court. They don't have to, for some reason. They won't give you discovery. So you ask for discovery, they won't give it to you. You can ask, hey man, you're using a police report as a matter of record. Can I see that police report? Well, you got to go get it from them. No, that's not how that works. When somebody asks for discovery in court, they need to receive that document. Otherwise, there's no validity to that document. It can't be used as evidence. Sorry. If I don't get an opportunity to review anything other than an affidavit is not a sworn statement from a peace officer for why they did what they did. An affidavit is not a something that would cause an officer to commit perjury to safeguard their job or whatever have you. And if you have a conflicting police report, which I had, they won't let you admit it into evidence. They won't let you because it is contrary to what the CPS people are saying about the situation, because anything contrary would mean that they were wrong and that you would be entitled to compensation. That's what that means, because the county would be on the hook, the CPS people would be on the hook, the prosecutor and the judge would be on the hook. That's what that means. But they don't want to do that. And then there's back to my reason why there are not enough civil lawsuit, police misconduct lawyers in the state of anywhere. You just can't get one, because unless it's a high profile case and unless you're a minority, I'm sorry white folks, but this isn't for you. Unless you're a minority, you are not going to get, even if it's a high profile case, you are not going to get a lawyer's assistance at fucking all. Period. Not going to get it. I don't care what the situation was. It could be a horrendous situation and you're still not going to get a civil rights attorney. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get a criminal defense attorney to help beat you a case, but to turn around and then sue? Nah. I don't care if it's a high profile case and you won fair and square. You are not going to get a civil attorney to help you, especially if you're white. Not going to happen, especially in the state of Texas, because it is a collusion. It is a mafia organization where they have these little fiefdoms called judges in municipalities, where the person that rules is the person with the gavel, and what they say goes no matter what. And if you fall under their jurisdiction, or if you fall within their order of power, you don't get a say, because that will affect your career. It's how it works. So feudalism is live and well in Texas, and if you're not part of their group of law enforcement and circle jerk buddies, and you are not in their circle, okay? Now, I'm harping on Texas quite a bit, but that's every state. Let's be real. Now, going back to the black hole that is Texas, you have... why? My question is this, is why is it that we don't hear of senior leadership in the Army being arrested and prosecuted and thrown bodily out of the service for how bad they dropped the ball with the murdered soldiers? And then the soldier who murdered a person in a gun magazine, or in the fucking what do you call it? Ammunition place, or the fucking gun locker, murders a person in there, takes them out to the motherfucking sticks out there, chops them up, and then puts them under cement. Like, wow. That happened on post, and you have witness testimony say, hey, this dude is dragging a strong box out of the fucking armory, and you're like, nothing? Like, you as leadership are like bringing them in like, yo, where were you dragging this box? Why isn't it accountable? Where's this fucking hammer? Like, I remember being in the service, like, every piece of equipment, everything was documented. Everything was like, man, if you don't have that fucking wrench, man, you as a RPPO in the Navy, you better come up with some sort of miracle. You better be using a magnet to get that shit out of somewhere. I don't care. It was a matter of importance, because you signed a tool out, you better sign that bitch back in. You signed goggles out, you better sign those goggles back in, because then you are on the hook for it. But it's not even so much of that. Like, you had leadership giving you counseling for how fucking often you fucked up. So, I don't get it. Fort Hood is the worst place for any soldier I could ever think of going. If you're a soldier and they say, "Hey man, you got to go to Fort Hood," don't stop. Get your just you know what? Don't go AWOL, but say, you know what? Hey, I can't go to that place. And if you refuse, great. You know, hey, service isn't for you. Okay. Now, if you do go there and you end up at Fort Hood and you're like, oh man, this place ain't bad, it's because you got lucky. Honestly, it's because you got lucky. But if you don't pick up on the bullshit that is occurring there right motherfucking away, then you are magically ignorant. Magically and woefully, blissfully blind to what's going on there. It is absolute terror to be there. And it's not a bad place physically. It's not the worst place physically to be. You know, I mean, do they have a PX? Yeah, it's kind of that PX is kind of nice. Okay, you have playgrounds for the kids that are okay. Okay, you know they need to modify them a little bit, but okay. You know, like do they have everything on the outside looking like it'd be a pretty decent place to be? Yeah, for sure. But then you get into the culture of the leadership there. You get into the culture of what's going on in the different units, especially First Cav. Oh my God, if you are mixed in with First Cav at all, period, you might as well just understand that you are entering the fucking twilight zone of the military and that everything that you do and try to control is beyond you. Because you're going to have the most random fucking leadership that you'll ever see, because you're going to have the best leadership from certain people. You're going to have the worst leadership from others. And that's the military in general, but the leadership that is bad at Fort Hood may cost you your life. It's so bad that it may cost you your life, or it may cost the life of somebody you love and hold dear to you. Okay? And I pray that if you're from Fort Hood, you're in First Cav, and then you go on deployment, I pray that you don't experience anything so horrific to have that leadership from First Cav be in charge of you while you're in a place that's already hostile towards you, like Iraq or Afghanistan. I really hope that the leadership there I hope they're the first ones to go in a firefight, because honestly, it's the younger enlisted, it's the smaller, the lower ranked soldiers that are there in it for the right reasons. But then you have upper enlisted, you have officers that are cowards, that do cowardly shit, that prey on junior soldiers to engage in sex acts. You got affairs going nonstop, not just in the enlisted ranks, but in the officer ranks. I mean, it's just an insanity wheel of nuts. And it doesn't ever go away until you fully fucking leave Fort Hood and look back and like, whoa, what I just experienced was the most corrupt shit I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that a lot of what goes on post, the real shit, like the suicides, the murders, everything, doesn't get reported as often as it should tell you, the American people, how fucked up our military have it. In fact, I would wager a guess to take a look at all military bases and demand, because we're paying for the military budget, we should demand the books. We should audit the Fed automatically. We should have numbers. We should have credible data. The fact that we don't know where billions upon billions upon billions of dollars go annually through the Pentagon or whatever military mechanism there are that just go missing for GP, for general fucking purposes, we can't fathom where that goes, should already tell you the level of corruption inside of our government who's mishandling the poor people's funds is what's going on. Okay? So I'm going to put this to rest. I've ranted hard and heavy. Fuck Officer Tatum, or former Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum. Fuck you, you piece of shit. Fuck DevGru 6 for kicking my boy Howard out of the Navy, who's a fucking war hero, who's a fucking Navy SEAL, who committed no crime, who did nothing to anybody, and he's being fucking put out there as a poster boy for committing no crime. So good on you, you pieces of shit. Fuck Fort Hood. Abso-fucking-lutely. Fuck Fort Hood. Fort Hood, please don't go there. Please, it is a black hole of death. They won't report your death to the news if they can get away with it. They will misreport your death anyway in order to not pay your family what is owed because you're an active duty soldier and you were found in a fucking field, murdered. But they'll say you were AWOL, which is a miracle. I think if somebody's found murdered, that AWOL thing goes right out the fucking window, because you don't know what they were doing when they were kidnapped. You just assumed this motherfucker was AWOL. Yeah, you absent without leave. This motherfucker don't turn up alive. Yo, he had no intention of going AWOL. Motherfucker was just murdered. Okay, and for you big military to turn around and say, you know what, hey, we're not gonna give the family money. We're not gonna return the body because we can't determine right now whether he was AWOL or whether he was in active service. Like, no, that shouldn't even be a question. He was found murdered not too far from fucking post. Sorry. Active duty. Fork up the funds, you fucking bitches. So I had a lot to say. I put it all out there. I put a lot out there. It's going to be 2 videos, like 1 and 2. But I just really hope that, things turn around for this country. Because right now it's just not worth living to, not worth a place to really raise a family. And it's not worth being a place to, constantly tell your kids, hey, one, you should have respect for law enforcement, and on the other hand, you should fear them and fear that they might kill you in any given situation, because we treat them for some reason like this viper that we can't control.